My name is Shirley Rivera. I'm the founder of Atheistas de Puerto Rico. I am the spokesperson of the Latin American International Coalition of Atheists, which is a group comprising atheist groups from 7 different Latin American countries. I was also a director on the board of Atheist Alliance International. While I was on the board of Atheist Alliance International, I tried to address a lot of the wrongdoing that I saw there. Eventually, I had to accept that it was impossible to fix the organization from within. Because I was dominated by a small group of dishonest people, called the board, that is why I resigned from Atheist Alliance International and made the evidence of their corruption public. This is the story of how those people destroy Atheist Alliance International. Quote, I am delighted to announce I have been elected Vice President of Atheist Alliance International. Bill Flavell quote on his Facebook the 29th of August 2017. That was a lie. Bill Flavell was co-opted to the board and not elected by the members. Howard Berman, who was the president, was also co-opted into the AAI board in 2017 without being elected. They were appointed to those positions according to a process used to urgently replace directors that do not serve their full term. For this reason, according to the bylaws, they were obligated to submit themselves for elections by the members before the end of the calendar year or else resign. Quote, any director appointed to fill a casual vacancy must nominate for election by the members of else resign as director. AAI Bylaw 63. They did neither. Instead, even though they had never earned even a single vote from a single member of Atheist Alliance International, they spent years falsely pretending to represent dozens of atheist groups worldwide. This includes dishonest, portraying themselves to the United Nations as people who had a mandate from the members of Atheist Alliance International. That behavior was the most appealing abuse of the democratic process on which this international alliance of atheist groups was based. If an unelected group illegally takes over a democratic country from the legitimate government, this is called a coup. AAI was also the subject of a coup. When an unelected group illegally took over control of democratic organization from the legitimate representative of those members who have built that alliance. One of the first things that Bill Flavell did after his dishonest announcements that he had been elected as a president of AAI was to start paying AAI cash to his own children, helping developing a new website. Quote, the board members working to redevelop the AAI website identify Leo Flavell as well qualified for the role. Resolution 1775 on 16th of November 2017. Leo Flavell is Bill Flavell's daughter, who is the Vice President of Atheist Alliance International by then. No other potential suppliers were considered. At the end of that year, Bill Flavell and Howard Berman then refused to publish financial accounts to the members, even though the bylaws required them to do so. Shortly afterwards, in 2018, they changed the bylaws on the organization so the financial accounts will no longer be published to the members who pay the subscription that found their organization. The accounts from those years remain missing to this date. Bill Flavell and Howard Berman made these corrupt changes to the bylaws at a bogus meeting from which they improperly exclude the majority of AAI members. Bill Flavelle has claimed that he invited all of the paid-up members to that meeting, according to the timetable described in the bylaws. Quote, checked the records and all were invited according to the timetable in the bylaws, says Bill Flavelle. Quoted Jason Sylvester, 2nd April 2021. That was another lie. There is no interpretation of the membership list and the subscriptions that they had each pay, which is explaining which members were invited to vote at the meeting and which were excluded. What explains the list of those invited and those excluded is a manipulation of the electorate to achieve a predetermined outcome of a vote. Those members who favor democratic reforms, like Atheist of Ireland and Freedom from Religion Foundation, were excluded. Those willing to go along with the corruption were included. For example, Fotis Frangopoulos was offered membership for the Atheist Union of Greece at a cost of only $1, just a couple of weeks before the meeting. Fotis voted for Howard and Bill corrupt new bylaws, and after the meeting, Fotis was also co-opted onto the board of AAI without an election. He still claims to be on the board of Atheist Alliance International today, even though he was expelled by the Atheist Union of Greece. Bill Flavelle also claims to be on the board of AAI today, even though he was spent years pretending to have been elected. When I joined the board of Atheist Alliance International, I saw their corrupt behavior firsthand. I saw them continue with the same corrupt behavior that they have been responsible for since their cabal unlawfully took control of AAI. They maintain control of AAI by manipulating the electorate and fixing elections in deliberately anti-democratic manner. They use their control of AAI to maintain exclusive access to the finances of the alliance. They strongly resist any attempt to implement democratic oversight or normal governance mechanism. Previously, Atheist Alliance International, atheist groups could apply for either voting membership or else no voting membership. At this time, when they apply to join the alliance, atheist groups will know which subscriptions fee they will pay for which category of membership. The new rule introduced by Bill and Fotis, which they still apply today, is that they will first accept the subscription fee for an atheist group, and then they will decide before each vote which group will receive a ballot and which will not. This decision is made behind closed doors, without the relevant atheist group being consulted. The decision is based on purely subjective criteria. In this way, Bill and Fotis still decide who can vote and who cannot vote. Even in elections where Bill and Fotis are candidates, they also count their votes in their own elections, such that they have removed the secret ballot. Just like the members who support democratic structure were improperly excluded from the very first AAI vote that Bill arranged, atheist groups who disagree with Bill and Fotis continue to be excluded from votes today. The Humanist Union of Greece was fully paid-up member of AAI that was improperly excluded from vote in 2021 and 2022. That group complaining about this publicly. Quote, Dear Atheist Alliance International President, this is a formal complaint about the unprecedented denial of voting rights of the Humanist Union of Greece. Panayoti Dimitras, 25 of July 2021. Several of the atheist groups across Latin America were also improperly excluded from votes during recent years, and they all disassociate themselves from AAI in protest. In fact, the person purportedly elected as a president in 2022 described his own elections process as an ethical lapse. Quote, The board assessing or counting the votes, which it has you rightly know is an ethical lapse. David Orenstein, 25 of April 2022. None of the recent votes at Atheist Alliance International has been conducted properly. A so-called president resigned almost immediately after his purported election, during which Fodis has replaced the independent returning officer to count the votes himself. Bill Flavel later announced in public which way each member group had voted. Due to this corrupt process, the others who currently claim to be the board of AAI are also totally illegitimate. In the next part of the debacle, the person who took over as a president also resigned after just a couple of weeks in the role. This time the resignation was due to what she called the disastrous legal status of Atheist Alliance International. Quote, "After obtaining information about the disastrous legal status of AAI, I submitted my resignation. Nina Sankari, 14th of June 2022. Specifically, the Attorney General of California revoked the AAI status as a no-profit because they refused to publish financial accounts. Not alone was the corruption of democratic standards continuing into 2022, but the corruption of financial management was also continuing into 2022. In fact, due to these resignations, AAI is now on their fourth president in the last 3 months. While I was on the board, I witnessed the lack of financial standards as well and the lack of democratic standards. I tried to have a qualified accountant produce audit accounts for the Alliance, but Howard Borman and the president told me in the writing that this was not my job. Quote, "If the AI is going to hire a CPA, accountant, at least we should know the company and the cost. Why is everything a mystery here?" Howard replied, "It's not a fucking secret. Fodis is the treasurer. He and I are dealing with financial issues. That's our job, not yours." Howard Berman. Of course, it is disgraceful that any director on the board of any international organization should be told that they should not be concerned with the finances of the organization, because only a small group of the board will have this responsibility. Nevertheless, Bill and Howard and Fodis continue to manage the finances of AAI and make it impossible for others to have any other oversight with respect to the details of what they were doing. This remains the situation at AAI today. Bill still claims to be the secretary of AAI and still refuses to explain how he decided who could vote when he changed the bylaws. Fodis still claims to be the treasurer of AAI and still refuses to publish the missing financial accounts. The status of AAI remains revoked, thus currently describing themselves as the AAI board remain entirely illegitimate, as their election was not in any way proper. Also, recently, AAI on August 2022 got their position on the European Council removed and revoked. Atheist groups have rightly been very quick to criticize religious organizations when they're in serious wrongdoing by clerics. We should not turn a blind eye to wrongdoing within atheist organizations. Thank you.